I hope whatever disease you people carry stays on your side of the street and doesn't infect my grandchildren. Yeah, that's how my morning started. Not a hello, not a polite complaint about my RV, just straight up venom. Old school, like she'd been storing it since the Eisenhower administration and finally let it rip at 7:30 a.m. on a Tuesday. Let me back up a sec. Sun's just starting to burn off the dew. Air's got that crisp bite. I'm out in my driveway next to the Wanderer, my pride and joy, my freedom machine. I'd spent the weekend polishing every inch, getting ready for a trip up the coast I'd dreamed about for months. The paint was like a mirror, the chrome gleamed, and I was in my best suit, coffee in hand, gearing up for a big virtual pitch to Tokyo. Dress for the job you want, right? So yeah, I was feeling pretty good, pretty grateful. Until her. She was across the street, 60-something, hair lacquered into a blonde helmet, powder blue tracksuit stretched tight, hands on hips, standing on a lawn manicured within an inch of its life, staring at me like I was some kind of invasive species. We'd only traded cold nods since I moved in, 6 months back, so I figured she was just one of those people. You know the type. But the way she spat those words, man, it was different. There was a bite. A history. I just stood there, coffee halfway to my lips, trying to process the hate. What do you even say to that? I decided to give her the benefit of the doubt, figured maybe her cat died or something, so I gave her a tight little wave and tried to smile. Huge mistake. She went nuclear, started screaming, "Don't you wave at me. You think you're better than us with that monstrosity parked there? It's an eyesore. It's bringing down the property values." I looked at her peeling paint, her army of lawn gnomes, and had to physically bite my tongue. Instead, I just took a long sip and turned to go inside. I had 28 minutes to my presentation. I figured she'd burn herself out, and that'd be that. Wrong. Suddenly, I hear the roar of a car engine. I turn. She's climbing into her old blue sedan, slamming the door so hard it rattles. Next thing I know, she guns it out of the driveway, wheels squealing, smoke puffing, her face a mask of pure rage. And then, hell, it all happened so fast. She drove straight across the street, aimed right at me, right at the Wanderer. I jumped back, coffee flying, suit ruined, and then, crash. Not like in the movies. No fireball, no slow motion, just the sickening sound of metal tearing and fiberglass shattering. She plowed straight into the side of my RV, right through the mural I'd had painted of the coast. For a second, all I could hear was the hiss of steam from her engine. Then, silence. And then, the performance started. She stumbled out of the car, not a scratch on her, pointed at me with a trembling finger, and screamed, "He assaulted me. Somebody help. This man attacked me, and I crashed. Call the police." My brain couldn't keep up. 1 minute I'm sipping coffee. The next I'm the villain in her Broadway debut. She flipped the script so fast my head spun. She wasn't just lying. She was Olympic level at it. Voice quivering, lip trembling, tears welling up on cue. He threatened me. I was terrified for my life. She said it loud enough for every neighbor to hear. The tire marks pointed from her driveway in a dead straight line into my RV. No swerve, no panic, just a surgical strike. But all anyone saw was her screaming, me standing there, a black man in a suit, and her, a quivering older woman clutching her chest. Mark, my next-door neighbor, poked his head out. He's a retired engineer, quiet guy, always working on something in the garage. What in the world happened? Before I could answer, she turned on him, sobbing. He was yelling at me. I tried to get away. I must have hit the wrong pedal. She was good. Real good. I finally found my voice. "You screamed at me. You drove into my RV on purpose." She flinched, like I'd hit her. "See how aggressive he is?" she cried to Mark, who looked like he wished he'd stayed inside. Every word I said, she twisted. Every move I made, she played as aggression. I was trapped. My RV, thousands of dollars in damage. My reality, rewritten in real time. Mark called 911. And let me tell you, waiting for the police felt like waiting for the sky to fall. She kept wailing, making sure everyone heard her story. I stood there, silent, trying to keep my breathing steady, fighting the tidal wave of rage and fear. I pulled out my phone and started recording. It felt like a toy shield in a war zone. The squad car whipped around the corner, lights blazing. Young cop, maybe 25, looked fresh out of boot camp, beeline straight for her. "Ma'am, are you okay?" She clung to him like he was her savior, spinning her tail, painting me as a monster. He was screaming. He threatened my grandchildren. She pointed at me. The cop's eyes went cold, his hand resting on his holster. He turned to me. "All right, sir, let's hear your side." But he'd already made up his mind. I explained, calm, careful, measured, how she'd screamed racist insults, how I'd walked away, how she'd revved her engine and driven straight at my RV. He looked at the ground, smirked. "So you're saying this elderly woman intentionally rammed your vehicle?" "Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying." Look at the tracks. That he was dismissive. "So you didn't approach her? Didn't raise your voice?" "No, I didn't." I waved. That was it. He scribbled in his notepad, but didn't write down a word about the racist insults. He didn't want a complicated story. He wanted easy, black and white. And I was the villain. Then she upped the ante. Suddenly, her shoulder hurt. "He shoved me," she cried. "I think he dislocated my shoulder." The cop turned on me, suspicion hard as steel. "Sir, did you put your hands on this woman?" "No," I said, louder now, desperate. "That is an absolute lie. Ask Mark." Mark shook his head, looked miserable. "I didn't see anything like that," he muttered. "He's covering for him," she wailed. That was it. The officer ordered me to put my hands on my head. Right there, on my own driveway, in front of my neighbors, I stood in the classic pose of surrender. Humiliated, erased, powerless. She smirked, then went back to her pained routine. Just then, another squad car pulled up. Out stepped an older cop, Sergeant Miller. He took in the scene, the wrecked RV, the tire marks, me with my hands up, the woman's act. "What have we got here, kid?" Daniels, the young officer, explained, still focused on cuffing me. Miller didn't buy it. He walked the scene, traced the tire marks, checked the impact. If she was running from him, why'd she drive toward his property? He asked, flatly. Finally, he turned to Mark. "You got security cameras?" Mark's face lit up. "Yeah, covers the whole street." The woman's face went white. Suddenly, the camera wasn't about privacy. It was about truth. Mark brought out his tablet, queued up the footage. The whole street, clear as day. Me with my coffee, her screaming, then storming to her car, the sedan aiming straight for the wanderer, pedal to the metal. No panic. No swerve. Just hate on four wheels. The shove? Never happened. The racism? Crystal clear on audio. Sergeant Miller didn't hesitate. He turned to her, his voice official and cold. "Ma'am, put your hands behind your back. You're under arrest for felony vandalism, reckless endangerment, and filing a false police report." She sputtered, demanded his badge, claimed the video was faked, anything to keep the narrative alive. Didn't matter. The handcuffs clicked shut. Officer Daniels stared at his shoes, shamefaced. Neighbors trickled out onto their lawns, whispering, watching the old woman get led away. Some looked at me with a little more respect. Some just kept their distance. Miller apologized for how it started, told me to get a copy of the report, assured me the video would speak for itself. But I knew. This wasn't over. The RV was totaled, my presentation missed, my morning destroyed. I called my brother Liam, final-year law student, civil rights paralegal, pit bull in a suit. He took over. Document everything. Pictures, video, statements. Don't talk to them. This is a hate crime. We're going to fight this. Insurance tried to play games, liability loopholes, deductibles, endless hold music. Until Liam called. Suddenly, everything changed. They covered all repairs, paid for a rental, covered diminished value. The woman's family tried to intimidate me, even after the restraining order. Her son started a whisper campaign online, dug up an old bankruptcy, tried to paint me as a grifter. Didn't matter. My brother kept receipts, filed for harassment, built a civil case brick by brick. Then Mark's wife and another neighbor came forward. Witnesses to the woman's long history of racist rants, even in her book club. It was the final nail. The DA offered a plea deal. Guilty to felony vandalism and a false police report. Full restitution, probation, no more hate crime charge. It wasn't perfect, but it was a win. She pled guilty, paid every cent, put her house up for sale, and left the neighborhood. The wanderer came home, good as new, but I wasn't the same. Security cameras everywhere now. I'd lost a piece of my peace, but not my will. A few months later, I finally took that trip up the coast. Music loud, wind in my face, the wanderer living up to its name. Sometimes you can't change the haters. Sometimes all you can do is outlast them, outsmart them, and keep moving. Now, let's be real, justice isn't always clean. There are scars. There are neighbors who still look at me sideways, people who still whisper. But I fought back, and with the truth on my side, and the right help, I won. So tell me, what would you have done? When the system and the story are stacked against you, do you fight back, or do you let them write your ending for you? Drop your take in the comments. Let's talk about justice, about neighbors, about who gets to own the truth.